Hello. Welcome to this episode of Hammering Down. I'm your host, Keller Hodges, and I'm hoping you're having a great day. Couple of things before we get into this episode. This is just going to be talking about Indy 11. We're not really going to get into the upcoming Lou City match. However, there are a good contingency of fans going to Lou City away. So if you are looking to go to an away day, there's a lot of Legion fans planning to make this trip. So going up there, Lynn family is awesome. It's a great time. I'm not going to be able to go, but I wish I could. I hope you all enjoy your trip up there. Apparently, there's this really good food spot on the way. So I don't know, tag team in with the Magic City Brigade and check that out. A couple of things in terms of the two team and the women's team. Women's team just got a nice 2-1 win over One Knox, getting a little revenge over their 1-0 defeat last time. They are playing tomorrow on the 10th against Asheville City. So go watch the women's team there. There might be a venue change. If it is moved to, if it's moved to the other venue, allegedly it will be free to enter. If it's at the Valley, I think you'll have to pay just a small fee. But if it's at the different venue, it allegedly is going to be free. If you want to go watch the two team, you should. They are undefeated in one of the most highly contested divisions in all of USL League Two. The Central South Central division only gets one playoff spot. And right now, Legion are on top of the table with 13 points, completely undefeated, or undefeated with only one draw. Then there's Dothan United, who have 12 points through 5 matches. And then there's Asheville City, who the Hammers, are taking on Wednesday. They are completely undefeated. 4 wins, 4 matches with 21 goals scored. Not bad. 0 conceded. That's right. They have scored 21 goals and conceded 0. They're a good team. So go check out that match. Whoever wins that match is in the driver's seat to make the playoffs. There's only one team that gets out. There's a wild card possibility, but unlikely because everybody's just beating up on each other because the South Central is that good. So check it out. Enjoy it. Go watch the two best teams in the South Central go at it. Asheville City is where we got Seba Tregarthen. So you could be watching a former or a future Legion player for Asheville City. And Legion 2, the Hammers, are absolutely future Legion players. That's the whole point. So go watch the feature, have a good time. Let's go see it. Now, before we get into the Mark Briggs post-game presser, which if you haven't heard it, oh my gosh, you need to because we're about to listen to it. I want to talk about what happened in the second half with the match getting stopped and briefly delayed due to derogatory chants. In the Puente Dulce section, there was a derogatory chant on goal kicks. The P word in the Spanish P word was being used, and in a lot of circles that is viewed as a derogatory homophobic chant. Okay. And it did stop the game. Now, let me make a couple of things clear. The Magic City Brigade had 0% to do with that. 0. Opposite side of the stadium. The other part for Puente Dulce, from the people that I talked to, according to them, the people who were doing that chant were not regulars. They were kind of new people that joined into the fray and started doing it. So don't just broadly say that they are bigots or hateful people. Don't just broad strokes say that they are bad. Okay. So apparently it was brand new people. It just kind of want to say that as well. Whether you believe that word is just a word, or if you believe that it's hateful, that's not for me to tell you. Talking to a lot of my friends who are native of Mexico and Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic, I asked them individually, and I was like, this word, is it mean what the connotation of what we hear it means? And they're like, kind of yes, kind of no. It's not exactly used that way. However, that word is commonly used to refer to someone who is homosexual. But they're like, but it's not really that meaning. Um, but if you talk to someone who's in the LGBTQ plus community, they will tell you is a super hateful word, super harsh word. I'm not here to tell you what the word means, what it doesn't mean. I'm not from Mexico. I know if you hear my voice or you see me kind of pasty white, or if actually you're watching me, I'm probably about as red as the hoodie I'm wearing. Sunburns are fun. um, but I'm not here to tell you what that word means because I don't know the complexities of the ins and outs of either community. I'm a straight white guy. I'm not here to tell you what it means. However, FIFA has said that derogatory chants will cause matches to be delayed. And guess what? The match was delayed after Legion were knocking on the door. They were absolutely the better team. They were at that point when the match was stopped, that was the best they had played all night. All night. They were absolutely on the front foot, and the match gets stopped. Whether you believe it is just a word, or if you think it's just a fun thing to do, or if you believe it's the most hateful thing that could be said, if you are one of those three camps, it doesn't really matter because the game got stopped. The game got stopped. So if you're saying just get over yourself, don't be such a pansy, get over it, you caused the match to get stopped. So your selfishness of using that word and saying get over yourself hurt the team. Are you there to support the team or for you to yell something when a goalkeeper kicks something? If you're there to yell a specific word when a person kicks the ball and that's the only reason you go, are you a Legion fan? That's what I'm going to say. Okay. Whether you believe that the word has meaning or not, it hurt the team. It's plain and simple, clear cut. That's all there is for me. I'm not here to tell you the complexities of the background of that word. Talk to someone who is in either community, LGBTQ plus or the Hispanic community. Talk to them individually. They'll give you a picture of their side. I'm not a part of either community, so I'm not the person for you. But I will tell you, we've seen that word cause national teams to lose fans from watching their club. And it caused Legion to lose all of their momentum in a match they ended up losing. Hurt the team, hurt the fans, hurt everybody. Don't do it. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this Mark Briggs post-game presser because this was a fun one. I'm going to try to tell you the context of these questions because you can't really hear them still. So I want to try to give you just a little bit of context, a little bit of background.
Yeah, I thought the first 15 minutes, we let ourselves down. And when you play against a mature team, when you play against a good team, you can't do that. And we started the game off sloppy. We don't run the play we're supposed to run. And then for the first 15 minutes, we were second best, second gear, people jogging, no intensity. They score, and then they're a good defensive side. They sit in a block and make it difficult.
You know, you've talked about the first 15 minutes, I think, just about every single week since you've been here. What is it about the first 15 minutes of the first half that doesn't seem to go into the first 15 minutes of the second?
Yeah, I thought second half. I thought they showed a better energy. We adjusted a few things tactically, and it helped us. We created chances, but then if you don't hit the target, you don't score goals. But the first half, the first 15 minutes is where we lost the game. We didn't start well, and we find ourselves losing a game 1-0 that we shouldn't be losing.
Okay, so I think you could actually hear me ask the question on that one, so you may not need me to give like what I said. Basically, I just asked like, why is this the continuous problem? Why is the first 15 minutes just the thing? And honestly, I want to just kind of point out here that it is a continuous problem, and he's mentioned that it's sloppy in the first 15 minutes. It's constantly an issue. There's a more interesting sound bites in there that I want you to hear as we go through, but just kind of keep that in the back of your mind of it was sloppy. They didn't run the plays they were supposed to run. They were jogging. They weren't showing that intensity. They weren't showing energy. And the first 15 minutes lost the match. I want you to keep that little bit in your brain as you are listening to the rest of this. Obviously, at left back, you're starting Sittingham, who recently joined the club. You don't have a single left-footed fullback at the club right now due to international and due to injury. What did you try to do to overcome that? Obviously, it's very talented, but it's hard to put in crosses when you're not left-footed.
Yeah.
So, if you couldn't really understand, basically every single left footer at the club is currently gone injured or international duty. Ramis, Fanwell, Dawson, Moses, and AJ Patterson, all five possible left foot players who can play left back are gone. And I asked about Centeno. There we go. I asked, he's a right footer. He wasn't able to put in crosses. How'd you overcome that? Here's what he had to say.
You just have to look. We're missing Dawson. We're missing Raz. We're missing Fanny. We're missing AJ. Am I missing anyone? Moses. We had to piece together a back line for tonight, and quite honestly, I don't think the back line was the problem, other than a couple of sloppy plays towards the end of the game. Other than that, I don't think the back line was the problem, to be honest. I thought they defended what they had to defend quite well. The attacking players, we have to be better in that part of the field. So,
listen, if you're looking at what they were able to do, Indy, they only create about a half goal worth of chances, and obviously end up scoring a goal, but they only created about half of that. They only created about a half goal chance, according to XG. The defense did their job. They did their job. So I think I don't even remember what the next question is, but still, I thought they played great. Jake looked wonderful so did, oh my gosh, Thiago looked great. Steven Turnbull played really, really well, and we'll get to him at the very end. It's going to be fascinating to hear. And then Centeno, the issue with Centeno was that everybody on the planet knew that he was not going to put in a cross. He would stop the ball about if you're looking at the 18-yard box, about the middle of the 18-yard box on the touchline, and stop, hold it up, try to dribble to his right foot. Nobody respected a cross from him. Everybody knew he was going to hold up the ball. I don't know if he can put in crosses with his left foot. I think he might have even put one in the second half when he was playing right back, which was bizarre. But either way, that's not really important. The important part here is that there was no threat of a cross from Centeno in the first half because everybody knew he was trying to get it to his right foot. He couldn't beat anybody on a dribble from the left side because everybody knew he was just trying to get to his right foot. This isn't like the Prosper situation of only left-footedness, because he could still cut inside and take in a shot because he had Danny Trejo in front of him, and Trejo's trying to cut in and get a shot on his right foot. You were looking at more of a situation like that where unless Trejo is trying to go to the touchline and cross the ball to Centeno, it ended up being a massive problem having two right footers on the left side of the ball. Nobody was able to put in crosses. And I asked a question about that later.
Yeah. Who really wanted to score? You think about Ronaldo wanted to score. He hit one, it comes off the post. He hits another one. He just goes the wrong side of the post. Ronaldo wanted to score, but who really wanted to put the ball in the back of the net? You know, we had chances on the edge of the box. A number of players, we don't hit the target. You know, when you create those moments, when you create those opportunities, you've got to have that ruthless edge, and you've got to have that desire to put the ball in the back of the net. And we didn't have that tonight.
Yeah, that question was basically just like creating chances, kind of staying in the final third, but not really create. Like they had shots, but not a whole lot of them. Field tilt, which we talked about before, basically possession is kind of meaningless. It kind of depends on where you have your possession. Legion had a very solid field tilt, and it didn't really account to much. And just that question of who wanted to score. Ronaldo wanted to score, but who else wanted to score? That is a brutal question to hear. Very matter of fact, very fascinating.
We saw in the first half, Lasso, Enzo, maybe even Pastor, go get into that like zone 14, take their shot from there, and they all go well above or a little bit wide. But you take off of Lasso, despite he did have that want to try to score. What kind of went into that decision making?
Okay, so if you couldn't hear, basically he took off Lasso, who had two shots, who he kind of did the Anderson Asayadu special of I'm lining one out from 30 and it's going to go about 40 above the bar. He had two of those chances, and I asked why take off Lasso when he was one of the few players in the first half that looked like they were willing to line one up and have a little bit of that bravery and take a shot. Listen to the answer.
As a coach, you got to make decisions, and when players don't perform at the level that they need to perform at, there's going to be consequences. We're not here to say pat people on the back and it's a camp and it doesn't matter. Like that, this is their job. You get paid to do your job. You get paid if you're a midfield player to connect passes, to get on the ball, to break up passes, to take shots and hit the target. You're an attacking player. You get paid to score goals, create opportunities, put the fans on the edge of the seats. You know? Did you see that? Did you feel that? There you go. I just asked them to look in the mirror themselves and come back and tell me, because some of us go home, don't watch the games, and don't honestly look at themselves because of that. Look in the mirror and tell me that you're doing your job to the level that it needs to be done at. And if you can say that, good. But if you can't,
okay. So let's break this one down. Timothy Bellin posted this specific clip, or this specific quote, just a little bit, and he mentioned like the standards and there are consequences for not doing your job. By the way, again, if you're not following Timothy Bellin on either Blue Sky or Twitter, you need to be doing that. Oh, there's a lot here. With Lasso, I had mentioned the fact that he was one of the few people to, take chances. What was the first thing that he said? If you're not connecting passes or breaking up passes, you're not doing your job. Lasso had a beast of a night in terms of connecting passes. He was overhitting things. He was not quite on it with his teammates. Granted, there's a little bit of learning curve playing with Steven Turnbull, who he did not connect with a lot. But they were also, for a professional standard, I can go out there and hit the shot. So if Lasso, if you hear this and you say, well, can you do that, talking boy? No, I can't. I can't do anything you do. You would eat me alive. But for professional standard, he was not making the easy passes, and it was killing chances in the first half. In terms of breaking up passes, I mean, he was sitting deep. He was playing as kind of the standalone quarterback type role, where he's supposed to just kind of distribute out, break up anything going behind you. He wasn't doing that. That was hard. I mean, I don't want to say harsh, but it was straight to the point. It was very pointed. I think the fascinating part here was not what Timothy posted, which was the consequences. the fascinating part was there are people here who do not go home and watch the film. He said they don't look in the mirror. And I find that fascinating. Just the fact that he sits there and says, there are people, and I'm going to read between some lines here. There are people here who don't think that they're the problem, and they're not putting in the work because they don't think they're the problem. They're not looking back and seeing their mistakes. They're not seeing the places they can improve. And I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you, well, I think it's this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. But what an incredible statement by Briggs. What a way to use the media to talk to your players. Go home and watch the film. I can tell who isn't. If I were to ask you, what did you see here? You didn't watch it to begin with. I mean, talk about a guy who's willing to go after players and hold them accountable. There's accountability in practice, but public accountability, it matters. It does. And he's mentioned in previous interviews that there's a careful line to toe when you are a coach like him that is willing to call someone out, but, lift someone up. But he said, this isn't a camp. There is no pat on the back. I think that last half was so fascinating as a coach.
I mentioned earlier about not having a left-footed player on the left side.
Right.
Was there any consideration to putting Pasher over on that left-hand side, switching him and Trejo to get some more crosses into the box?
Yeah, at one point there was actually. We were going to do that, and then the ball kept coming out to the right-hand side, so we switched Centeno and Stephen. So Stephen went to the left, Centeno came to the right, and got a little bit of joy actually in that last area, and then we couldn't get that final push, that final little bit of look in the box. But yeah, that's something that we looked at, and we didn't quite pull the trigger, but we looked at it. It was spoken about.
So I mentioned maybe moving Pasher over to the left-hand side to get crosses in to at least make that a little bit dangerous because there were no threats, as I mentioned earlier. With Banwell being out, and he got 2 starts, by the way, for the Rwanda national team. Didn't have a single start or a single appearance for a national team at the ripe age of 32. He gets not just 2 caps, but 2 starts for the national team. Super cool to see for Fanwell. Congratulations, Fanwell. But we mentioned not having the left footers. Ramis is probably going to be out for just one more week. Not sure about a concrete timeline for AJ. He's not going to be able to play a full 90 anytime soon. Moses is apparently a few weeks away. Not really too positive about Dawson. So you're looking at a very bare bones left-handed side lineup. I wouldn't be shocked to see if we get a little bit more of the classic Tommy Sohn, we're switching wingers all the time thing this upcoming match against Lou City, where we see Pasher go over to that left-hand side, Trejo go to that right-hand side, and make those switches so they can switch the idea of these inverted wingers who are cutting inside, and then some that stay true and have wingbacks that cut inside, because Turnbull and Centeno are very accomplished. They can cut inside. They can do that very well. Maybe have some that stay on that outside flanks and they can cross in, have at least Pasher be a threat to cross some stuff in. I think that's something to watch. We'll be interested to see if they continue doing so.
I just remember it ricocheting to the edge of the box. I can't remember how we got there. I'll have to watch the film and take a look at it. But it ricochets to the edge of the box, and then he's hit it and it's gone right in the bottom corner. I thought we could have put better pressure on the shot. I thought we could have reacted a little bit better to block the shot. Last week, I see 4, 5, 6 players throwing their bodies on the line in front of shots. This week, I didn't see one person putting their body on the line to block the shot.
Okay, so 2 parts of this. Not just on Twitter, so this is not me calling somebody out on Twitter at all. Because I also heard it in real life a lot. I heard it from a lot of fans kind of talking to them at halftime and a little bit post game. about they thought that MVO, Matt Van Oekel, looked a little bit slow. And the video does him massively disservice because he does just kind of fall slowly. But he mentions no one in the midfield put pressure on the ball. I think that's a Lasso comment, just to be honest, because we mentioned how he's the one that's sitting deep. He's that CDM. I think that's kind of a Lasso comment. He also mentions that none of the defenders really stopped to block the ball. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see that I posted like there were several players, the ball just kind of went by. And it went through like a screen of people that Matt Van Oekel kind of had to stay center, because if it deflects off of a Legion player and he's already dove to his right, he can't save a ball that deflects to his left. He has to kind of react to an expected deflection, because everything should tell you with the crowd of people that's going through that it's going to hit something. It hit nothing. And it went pretty much as far right corner as it can. I do think there's a conversation of starting Delgado or giving him more starts, but I think using that play as the reason to start Delgado is not the right one, because I don't think Delgado saves that ball either, not because it's a banger, but look at all the bodies it went through without touching them. Matt Van Oekel was playing a deflected shot, as he should have, because you think that with the amount of people it went through, an Indy player on the floor, a player in the middle, a Legion player in the middle of the box, another Legion player who's kind of on the back side, somebody's going to get a touch to that ball. No one got a touch to the ball, ended up right corner. It looks bad on MVO, just kind of the way he falls, but appearances doesn't mean that it was bad, if that makes sense. He doesn't blame Matt Van Oekel. He doesn't say that he needs to be more on his toes. He mentions closing down the shot and someone needs to block the ball. He also mentions 5-6 players putting their body on the line for the ball, which leads to my next question.
Was there a little bit of that because it was a cup match, because it was Jägermeister, and this is just the regular season? You have, about 16 more matches to play.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's the problem. That's the problem right there. Right there. It doesn't matter whether you're playing in the Jägermeister Cup, whether you're playing in the USL, whether you're playing in the Open Cup, whether you're playing a pre-season friendly. Every time you put this jersey on, there's standards. And if those standards aren't met, then we have to make changes.
I want
to replay that for you.
In the Open Cup, it doesn't matter whether you're playing in the Jägermeister Cup, whether you're playing in the USL, whether you're playing in the Open Cup, whether you're playing a pre-season friendly. Every time you put this jersey on, there's standards. And if those standards aren't met, then we have to make changes.
If that doesn't make a Legion fan want to run through a brick wall, I genuinely don't know what will. I genuinely have no idea what would not make a Legion fan want to run through a brick wall after that. I think that he's being super clear here. I asked the question, did 5-6 players put their body on the line because it was a cup match? That was the problem. That's the problem right there. Quote Mark Briggs. That could not be a clearer message to me. It could not be a clearer message to me. I thought that was an awesome moment for fans listening, but it needs to be a real moment for the players. And whatever's causing those slow starts, the intensity, the not willing to quote unquote die for the shirt, I don't know. I'm not a coach. I'm not a professional athlete. Never will be. I'm just a guy who bought like a freaking $80 microphone and pay for a StreamYard subscription. I'm not special here, but I think what Briggs is saying very straightforward right now is just like the intensity was there for FC Tulsa. Everybody knew it was a cup match. Everybody knew that if you lose, you die. And people were willing to fight for that. Why didn't it happen here? Pretty clear cut for Briggs here. And I thought that was a fascinating answer that I think Legion fans needed to hear.
After one of the best spells that you had attacking tonight, the match gets delayed because of some offensive chance going on. I'm not going to ask you to comment on that specifically, but what did you have to do to talk to your team to keep them engaged after some of their best chances get immediately that momentum gone?
Yeah, it came at a really bad time for us. Like you say, it stopped our momentum, and we had to keep them engaged and keep them focused and keep them going essentially. Um, I didn't honestly. I was that engrossed in the game that I didn't necessarily hear what the chant was or whatever was said. But obviously the referees heard it, the officials heard it. So I think like we have great support. But can we support in a positive way with a positive energy and keep the flow of the game going?
Just finally get 10 days before Louisville, what goes into these 10 days now?
A lot of work. We got to come in tomorrow and come in Friday and get our work in and look at video and analyze. And then we gotta try and put our strongest foot forward as we head to Louisville, the best. Well, I think they're second right now, aren't they? Them and Charleston and Loudoun, the top three teams in the league, and it's going to be a difficult place. They don't lose many games away. But it's a massive challenge for us, and I want to see which players can rise to that challenge. I want to see which players are excited by going there and trying to put on a performance and trying to compete against one of the best teams in the league.
I got just a couple more. Turnbull gets his first 90 of the season, his first start since El Paso. What do you think of his performance?
I thought he did great. I was actually really pleased with Stephen. Stephen's been through hell. He's had an illness that's really serious, and he lost an awful lot of weight, and he's been battling through a lot. So for him to get himself back medically and healthy and put the weight back on and get back to his playing weights took an awful lot of work. And I was really pleased to see him perform at the level he did and go for 90 minutes. What he's been through has been really difficult. So I'm really, really proud of him and pleased for him. I just wish that we could have got the 3 points.
Yeah, so, there's been a lot of talk about Turnbull. And, in the last episode, I thought that maybe he was the guy on the chopping block because, all official sources are just saying he wasn't playing. And you're wondering what was going on behind the scenes. Was it tactical? Was there an attitude issue? Nobody besides the team knew that he was sick, that he was ill. And this is where I want to just throw my hands up. I want to raise my hand right now and just say, that's on me, right? Maybe I should have reached out. Granted, if I knew there was an illness, I would not disclose that because that's a very personal matter to Turnbull. But maybe just kind of shift the narrative a little bit of there's a reason why he's out. Can't dive into it, but I want to raise my hand and say that's my fault. But for him to speak glowingly about Turnbull and about how well he did and the road of recovery from an illness where he loses significant weight and how he had to get back. I mean, it's it definitely puts things into perspective for him. And what was really interesting is as he was walking off the pitch, I was in the tunnel waiting to go to this press conference, and he was disappointed. Like, he was really disappointed. You would expect like a little smile out of a guy who has been through as much as Briggs has said he has to get his first 90 minutes in since he was with another club. None of that. It was just pure disappointment of not winning. That's a competitor, man. That is absolute competitor. That's an absolute kind of a dog, honestly. Yeah, wonderful to hear that about Steven. Love to see him grow, and I can't wait to see him play more matches for us.
Last one, you mentioned You mentioned Louisville. When you were with Sacramento, you had a lot of positive results going into the family. Birmingham's had good results as well. What does it take to go into one of the better atmospheres in the USL and get a win?
A lot. You've got to be tactically smart. You've got to have players that want to play. You've got to have players that have courage to play, because it's an intimidating environment. The fans there create a good environment, and Danny's a good friend of mine and a fantastic coach, and he gets his guys organised, he gets them motivated, and they're really difficult to beat at that Lynn Family Stadium. But we've got to go there with a plan. We've got to go there with a clarity for our guys, and then we've got to go there with the right mindset. Because if you don't have the right mindset, you get eaten up and spat out pretty quickly.
All right. So with all that, it was a intense press conference, to say the absolute least. I mean, Briggs did not hold back about any of it. And again, I've said this before, but when it comes to Briggs, I think that fans are going to love him because he uses the media to kind of call out issues, which we did not have prior to him with Coach Stone or even Coach Eric for that little bit. And some of it might be lip service to fans of, hey, man, we care. We really care. But still, man, you show that intensity. And he talks about playing for the shirt every time you put on the jersey. And he's only been here a month or two. He doesn't need to care as much as he does, but he does. And I think that if you're worried about this year's Legion team, maybe that's valid. But as long as Mark Briggs is the coach, I don't think you're worried about the future of his Legion team. I really don't. And there was some conversation that we saw in the general section of the Majesty Brigade Discord, which, again, if you want to talk a lot of Legion ball, I'm in there from time to time. So check that out. You don't have to be a Majesty Brigade member to be in there. You can just join the Discord. You don't have access to certain things, but you can just talk ball. It's a lot of fun. Or, I saw it on Twitter of like, who was that directed at? Like, is a guy like Lasso, is his days numbered as a Legion player? Enzo was subbed off, which doesn't happen for Enzo. Is Enzo's time done with the Legion? No, I don't think so. But I do think that Briggs showed that no one's safe. Not a single player was safe. Guys like Enzo would never been subbed off before, only when he was exhausted or about to get a second yellow. That's the only time. Guys like Lasso, who they paid a fee for to come to Birmingham, not safe. He got yanked off at 45. I think that you're going to see a ruthlessness out of Briggs, especially this next month. I think you're going to see an absolute ruthlessness out of him, especially when we go to Louisville. When Legion go to Louisville, you are going to see just absolute, I don't even know how to just say it. I think it's just, ruthless. I think that's the only word I got here. It's just ruthless of, you weren't good enough. Get off the field. Somebody else wants to play. Somebody else wants to fight. Somebody else has courage. He mentioned courage. Somebody else is more up for this than you are today. They may not be as good as you. You may have over 400 more appearances as a professional footballer. You may be one of the most technically gifted players that ever graced the USL, which we do have a couple of those players, if we're being real. But you're not trying. Players who don't try don't win. He's showing that. He's showing that intensity. And Legion fans, get behind that. Be intense. Show you care. Bring the noise. If you're going up to Louisville for the match, be loud, be proud. Show one of the better away days, the better away sections that Lynn family gets to see all year. It's going to be a blast. Thank you all so much for listening. If you're going to the WFC match or not the WFC, sorry, the Legion 2 match, actually, I won't be able to be it either. Just kidding. If you see me, say hi. Always good to chat ball. I'm always down to talk ball. So, thank you guys so much for listening. Till next time, guys. Keep hammering on.